Hi everyone and welcome to another review here on Theme Park Worldwide. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Oblivion, a Bolliger Mabillard Dive Coaster located at Alton Towers in Staffordshire here in the UK. Now with Oblivion, what makes it special is that when this ride opened in 1998 it was the first B&M dive coaster to be built and also marketed as the world's first vertical drop roller coaster. Now Oblivion isn't actually fully vertical, it's 87.5 degrees. However, it's close enough when you look at it. Of course, you know, it does look fully vertical, but it's just off ever so slightly. Like I say, it's 87.5 degrees. Now, Alton Towers back then was so secretive with projects, and they still are to this day, but of course, with the world of YouTube and social media, it's a lot harder now for parks to stay secretive. However, back when this was under construction throughout 1997, there was just so much secrecy surrounding it, and of course, this was Secret Weapon 4 in their program of building roller coasters. SW3 opened in 1994, 4 years before Oblivion, and that was of course Nemesis. So yeah, the whole secrecy surrounding this ride was incredible, and I remember when I was a kid going to Alton Towers with my parents and seeing all the big construction walls all the way around and thinking, what is coming? Because the park back then, it was all very secretive. You couldn't just find out information about stuff, and that really added to the overall build-up of it. Even though I was only a kid at the time, some of my first memories actually from Alton Towers are seeing this enormous hole being dug into the ground. So let's talk about the overall area around Oblivion. It's located within the X Sector themed area. That was also launched in 1998, and I remember of course as well they rethemed a couple of rides, relocated some attractions. Enterprise was down there, Energizer, that later got replaced by Submission, and of course Black Hole was down there as well, the indoor coaster. So you know, X Sector had a lot going about it, but it had this very modern and futuristic feel that it's still got kind of to this day. Maybe not as much now, but certainly in 1998 when it opened, there was nothing else quite like it, with the branding, the logos, the colorways, just everything came together in this absolutely fantastic overall experience. Now, to this day, when you walk down towards X Sector, it dominates the skyline. And yes, of course, you got another world record breaking ride located now in X Sector. Of course, in 2013, the Smiler opened, but Oblivion is still the one that really just catches your eye when you're walking towards it, because you see the X Sector sign, it's perfectly positioned with the drop of Oblivion just behind it. And as you walk down into the area, it's on like a gradual slope, and off to the left, you can then just see the drop of Oblivion. And with how that area is set up, to get to the queue line, of course, you have to walk past the drop, and the amount of times you hear people saying, I'm not going on that. It's quite amusing actually just to stand in that area and just listen to people and what they're saying about the ride, because it does terrify people. I know people who ride pretty much any coaster out there, but there's still people who find Oblivion terrifying, and for me, I still find Oblivion really exciting. Now, you might be all thinking, hang on a minute, Sean, it's so short, there's better dive coasters out there, but in this video, I'm going to talk exactly why I rate it so highly, because I still think it's one of the best dive coasters, even though it was the original and even though it's 87.5 degrees, not fully vertical. So once you make your way down to X Sector, of course you're greeted by the entrance to the queue line, and what I like about the queue line is that there's no cattle pen, there's no up and down, literally it circles round up a hill, this rocky hill what they created, and that's the good thing about X Sector. When they dug out the hole for Oblivion to place the track in and then of course cover it over, they managed to do a lot of landscaping around the area to give it a lot of different hills and just really fit with the vibe and mysterious feel of the area. So yeah, you climb up the queue line and you make your way through some like Art Deco inspired buildings, which have got videos playing inside, which is absolutely brilliant and builds up the anticipation. Now, these videos are all about sort of making you feel like, oh, should we be doing this? Very mysterious, what's going on? What does it feel like to drop into Oblivion? That's what they're building up, and there's a few different queue line videos, and the final one actually playing inside the station before you start to climb. So you then get to this round little building, which is another Art Deco style, and then you cross over a bridge into the station building itself, which is a very modern, futuristic style. I wouldn't say it's particularly heavily themed, but it does fit in with the rest of X Sector with how it looks. And let's be honest, like the Smilers station, that wasn't really themed either, other than some yellow pipework. So I do prefer Oblivion Station, actually. I feel like the look of it is very modern and it very fit with what they wanted. They wanted to be very millennium, you know, with this ride, with the millennium approaching. They wanted to be very modern and futuristic, and I feel like they got that right, especially with the logo. I love the branding for Oblivion. It's one of my favourite ever brands for a coaster. I love all the orange chevrons throughout the station and all around the area. I just think it really makes it. Let's talk then about the shuttles on Oblivion. Now that's the official name for the trains basically on there. So with the shuttles, 2 rows of 8 riders, total of 16 riders in tiered seating. Now on the announcements they do say that all ride positions offer a front seat view. However, I do disagree with that. Like, it's not a front seat view if you're on the back, is it? Like, that's the way I see it. So yeah, for me, you do want to be on the front row if possible on Oblivion, but the back row is still enjoyable. But for me, front row right in the centre I absolutely love, and even off centre actually, because you've not really got the track directly underneath you when you're going down the drop, so that can be quite awesome too and very much enjoyable. Now with Oblivion, it does feature the standard B&M over the shoulder restraints with a seatbelt that clips in as well. And with these trains, they're not flawless. Now with dive coasters nowadays, they are built usually flawless, you know. However, with Oblivion, that wasn't a thing back then. It was quite a, you know, an engineering marvel to have built something like they did back in 1998. Never mind thinking about making it flawless. So nowadays, you look at a lot of the newer dive coasters, and yeah, they are flawless models. That's just how B&M seem to do them now. And let's face it, if you were a park investing in one of these, you'd have a flawless one, wouldn't you? Because you don't need the bar in front of you. However, in my opinion, for some odd reason, the fact that you've got the floor underneath you and this bar in front of you kind of makes it a bit more enjoyable. Like, in some bizarre way, I quite like having the bar there. Maybe it kind of makes me feel like, you know, that you're a bit more on the edge of like a building or something about to fall off. It gives you that sort of feel that Alton Towers wanted to create with the ride. So actually, I quite like the original shuttle design that can be found on Oblivion. At this point then, of course, you've got announcements playing, you've got the fantastic audio, you've got the screens above you that are playing this video, building up all the facts going up on there and all the orange colourways. None of it really makes sense. And then you are dispatched straight out of the station, and that's when you start to climb the lift hill, which isn't actually very tall. The lift hill is only actually 65 foot tall, that's 20 metres, and you make your way up there very slowly. And all of that was designed on purpose. Of course, John Wardley, the legendary coaster designer, you know, designed Oblivion along with B&M, and they did a fantastic job at building up the anticipation with this ride. And I feel like Oblivion builds up that anticipation more than most coasters out there, to be honest. And you're climbing up the lift hill. Of course, you hear the shuttle making its way up. You hear the clunks of the anti-rollbacks. And you're really thinking, blimey, you know, we're climbing a long way up. When actually, you're only climbing up 20 metres, 65 feet. It's not really that much. When you get up to the top, you have that signature B&M move, a tiny little drop just to kind of release from the lift hill chain. But at this point, this is where it makes Oblivion really unique, because actually B&M created another chain at the top of Oblivion's lift hill, and as it curves round to the left before the drop, it engages onto another chain. And what this chain does is actually slows down the shuttle to actually build up the anticipation more. So when it was, you know, this is the amazing thing about John Wardley and what he thinks about with his rides. Instead of it coming off the lift hill and going around really quick towards the drop, he wanted to build up the anticipation to really make people scared. You banked around to the left, you saw the drop there. So what he did was put this chain in, which is brilliant, and worked with B&M to make it so the shuttle actually slows down as it makes its way around that top section. You see the tower's ruins over to the side. Nowadays you can look across and see the Smiler, so you do feel really high, and a lot higher than you actually are at this point. Moving on from that, you then start to make your way, of course, onto the holding brake itself, and this is brilliant. You can hold there for up to 3 seconds. However, it is random these days. It can be 1 second, it can be 2 seconds or 3, depending. You will hold there at random points, and of course that is when you really do get a fantastic view all the way across the Staffordshire countryside, and because Alton Towers is up on a hill anyway, it's kind of raised up, so you're looking out for miles. You can see really far from that point, and of course you're looking straight down this drop into this big tunnel. The tunnel itself is full of mist, and that is one of the best parts of the ride in my opinion. I'm glad that Alton Towers have become a bit more reliable with getting the mist working right, because it was not working very well a few years ago, so it was a bit of a missed opportunity in my opinion. That was a bad joke, wasn't it? At this point then, of course, you are ready. The holding brake releases and you make your way down Oblivion's drop, and honestly all the way down 180 feet straight down underground, of course at 87.5 degrees, and the drop is is brilliant. It's probably the most forceful drop on a dive machine in my opinion. I absolutely love it. There's something about it that the noise that it makes its way into the hole, the size of the shuttles going down there, they just feel huge, you know, compared to other rides. Honestly, I just absolutely love the design of that. It certainly is fantastic as you drop down and into Oblivion. There's just something about dropping 180 feet, 55 meters into this ginormous hole full of mist that I find absolutely fantastic and very enjoyable. And the drop extends so far underground, more than a lot of other dive machines actually that do have a tunnel like that. It really does drop all the way down, and Alton Towers had to do that because of the height restrictions in place at the park. It really is fascinating. You look at the drop and think, blimey, it looks big, but yeah, if you go and stand down there in the little viewing area at the back and look at the drop, it makes you realise just how far underground it actually goes. Bear in mind, you've only gone up to 65 feet. The drop's 180, so it's crazy. It shows just how much of it is actually underground and the amount of effort that went into the excavation of this. And that all came round with you know, building up the anticipation of this ride, all the signage. They had actors walking around in the area, building up the hype for Oblivion. So, as you make your way out of this tunnel that does extend all the way underneath X sector, you're in there for a good maybe 3-4 seconds. Feels like a lot longer though. You then make your way out of another misty tunnel straight up into a high banked turn, which does slow the shuttle down quite a bit actually. But I do really like that. It's got some nice interaction with Enterprise that was perfectly placed right next to it too. And then of course drop down and up into the brake run. Now with Oblivion, it might not feature any inversions and it might be a very short ride. However, it packs a punch. I absolutely love it. I kind of feel like Oblivion's one of the most underrated roller coasters in the UK. It's a fantastic ride. It builds up the hype. I know so many people who are just terrified of it. They'll ride it, but they just find it terrifying every time. So it's a good fun ride, one to watch reactions of others on too, and it's just really enjoyable. But yeah, for me, the shuttle design, I actually like having the bar on the front. I like the fact that it drops into a huge tunnel full of mist, and it just feels a lot more of an intense drop than some of the newer dive machines. And I think that is because, you know, it's got them 8 across shuttles. The trains on there are fantastic. And wherever you sat, it's an enjoyable experience, but it's definitely a front row ride if you want that premium seating on Oblivion. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts about this ride at Alton Towers. I would love to know down below in the video comments. Do you love Oblivion? Do you find it underrated? Or do you think it's very overrated and you prefer it if it had inversions? And it always makes me laugh. I see people say sometimes, oh, do you think, you know, Alton Towers would extend Oblivion or add inversions? They definitely wouldn't. That's not the sort of thing you could just do to a coaster like Oblivion. You know, the amount of designing what went into that as it is, that you just couldn't do something like that. It would be near impossible, to be honest, without completely stripping the whole ride back. But it's just amazing how it comes together. And like I say, you think about how much it actually goes underground. It really is stunning, and what an incredible ride experience. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the video comments, and thanks for joining me for another review here on Theme Park Worldwide. Brand new videos every single day. Check out yesterday's live stream celebrating 250,000 subscribers if you haven't already watched it. And as always, thank you very much for your support. I'm Sean Sandbrook. Thanks for watching. And that leaves me with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.